talking about tried and true things. I'll hit, I think, maybe kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum. One, we're a data-driven organization, as you know, and we invested in a CRM system several years ago, which I don't know how we'd operate without it. We run Pipedrive. Really love Pipedrive.
Well, I will say, I know talking with Adam Schmidt, he'll talk a lot about Pipedrive and how like Pipedrive will work with Nix a lot on certain aspects. That's like, hey, can it do this? And they'll say, well, let's try this.
Yeah, we've customized a lot of things. Yeah. We've talked about Profab Alliance potentially working with Pipedrive to put out kind of a white label product for the fabricator.
Welcome to MakingSparks, the podcast where we ignite your passion for metal fabrication and fuel your business success. Join industry leaders and dive deep into the world of metalworking, from business insights to tips of the trade. MakingSparks is your forge of knowledge. During each episode, discover success stories, innovative solutions, and expert interviews that light the path to business growth. Subscribe today and grow and improve your company, and let's make sparks fly together.
You drinking my coffee?
Yeah, are we recording?
Yeah, so I was actually going to say I had a bone to pick with you. One day you said, Casey, how come you never have coffee in here or something like that? So I went out and bought a coffee maker and you never this is the first time you drank it.
No, that's not true. This is at least the second time I drank it. I'm drinking it out of this nice styrofoam cup too.
Did you see? Well, I had fancier ones with the lids.
Oh no, that's okay. This will
do mugs, so
this will be just fine. I don't do mugs either. I'm usually a Yeti cup kind of guy.
I thought it'd be kind of cool to do like a gray mug with a gray Cafe Content logo on there, so you can't really see it, but it's like etched in there.
Okay.
Welcome back to Making Sparks. I'm your host, Casey Voelker, sitting here with Matthew Nix, and we were just talking about how he never drinks my coffee I make before every podcast, even though way early on when we first started this podcast, he told me I had to get a coffee maker for the podcast room. And so I make coffee before every recording, and he's finally drinking one.
It's good coffee, Casey. Thank you.
Yeah, it's Folgers.
It's Folgers, just like I like it.
Do you know the jingle for Folgers?
Best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. That's a great ad. They should have stuck with that.
They brought it back.
Did they
recently.
bring it back?
Yeah.
Good.
So,
yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, genius.
So obviously this is a very laid back intro to the episode, but we failed and did not get guests this week. So we decided we're going to have me and Matthew talk because one of the things that I think people don't think about is a person like Matthew who's running Nix companies and is doing this podcast. It may sound like everything is going awesome all the time, but realistically, we all have some trials and stuff, especially like in our businesses and things like that. And Matthew was telling me off air, off camera, that he's been really struggling to want to do a podcast or to market or to
write blogs,
put himself out there because of some of the things that what the company's going through or what's going on. Honestly, I haven't really talked to Matthew about this until now. So Matthew, I'm gonna let that kind of lead into what's going on right now.
Like you said, it's been a casual introduction to the podcast. I'm also dressed kind of casual today, so if anybody's watching and not listening,
you're basically wearing the same thing I wear normally.
Well, I have shorts on. You can't see that.
Okay, never
I
mind.
rode my bike to work today, so trying to get my butt back in shape. So I live about 7 miles from the office, so a ride in and a ride back is a nice exercise. So, but yeah, no, I was sharing, with Casey before we got on here that I just haven't really been feeling like I haven't been feeling like podcasting lately. Yeah, we've been dealing with some challenges, and Casey and I had encouragement from somebody else too, said, well, maybe you should just talk about that, and so I thought, yeah, there's some merit to that. It's good to be real and I think, it's relatable because I suspect most or all of our audience has, gone through difficult times in business or personally or whatever. So we were just going to talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah, and I know you always talk about like when there's economic downturns or whatever that Nix isn't going to participate in it, like it's a mindset type thing. But I think right now it might be relevant for a lot of our audience because I'm sure a lot of people are tightening up a little bit right now. And I know our business at the beginning of the year, we may have hit on this the last time me and you had a one-on-one talk, but we had our 2 worst months ever for Cafe Content's been in business for 4 years, and we had 2 really, really, really bad months. We're bouncing back now, and I just talked to that on one of our my mastermind group our last meeting last month, I told him, I was like, hey, like the day that we had our mastermind, we had a big like sales day. Like a lot of people reached out to me and said, hey, we're going to go ahead and work with you guys, do this, this, and this. And I was like really excited to see some dominoes fall. And I think that's been really cool to see the bounce back. But I think being realistic and knowing, you know, where we're at in like the economy and being realistic about sometimes there are lows and stuff. And again, for me being a new business owner, this is the first time I've got to deal with that. So it's been a little bit stressful. Not too bad, because I always say the worst thing that can happen is you fail.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty positive guy.
Yeah. Well, that's a good outlook. Yeah.
So tell me what's going on. Why haven't you wanted to write a blog post, or why haven't you wanted to get excited about what you're doing right now?
Business has been slow for us. So, and had a couple projects that haven't gone, you know, the way that we wanted them to. So that compounded a couple big jobs, and that happens, you know, in business. When you have a bad job and everything else is going okay, you can kind of roll with the punches, you know. But when you have a bad job and things are a little slow, it makes it tough. So, sales have been off pace a little bit for us, and I mean, I think as to be expected a little bit. It's an election year, interest rates are sky high. You know, we're also in a little bit what I call the COVID hangover. You know, for manufacturing. After COVID, it was a real party. You know, I mean, manufacturing was going gangbusters. People couldn't make stuff fast enough, and we were in that party too. And you know, a lot of customers were just, you know, it wasn't an open checkbook, but they were pretty much saying, you know, we need it. You know, whatever it takes, we need it. So, you know, 2022 was a good year for us. 2023 was a record year. You know, so just last year was a record year, and here we are. And Q1 was pretty good too. But I saw late last year sales that started to slow, you know, and it's a long sales cycle for us. So I kind of knew the day of reckoning was coming if we didn't start winning more work. And so it's caught up with us now, and we're a little slow. I mean, it's all relative, you know, when we say slow. I mean, we have the most people we've ever had right now, right? So we're still producing more work than we did, say, 2 years ago, you know, so it's all relative. But, you know, keeping all of our people busy and engaged and gainfully employed is always my number one focus. When things get tough like this, that is always where my mind goes, is we have to keep all these people employed. You know, we can't lay people off. You know, we've never been one of those companies that, you know, when things are going gangbusters, we hire a bunch of people. When they slow down, we lay people off. We don't operate that way. I don't think that's the right way to treat people, but I also think it's better for business long term, you know, to do it the way we do it. And we're not an anomaly by any means. I think a lot of people, particularly family businesses or small privately owned businesses in our industry, fabrication and machine shops, would agree with that. I mean, some maybe don't, but so. Yeah, we're really laser focused right now on getting down to the basics, and our leadership team and a lot of our folks that aren't typically in sales have really engaged in business development right now, coming alongside our sales team. We're really blessed to have a strong business development team, so we're really getting out in the field with them, following up on projects that we've quoted, and you know, just making sure that workflow is coming in.
Hey guys, Casey with MakingSparks. I'm sitting here with Adam Schmidt from ProFab Alliance. Adam, I was looking at the ProFab Alliance website, and I keep seeing these 3 points: community, consulting, and franchising. And I just wanted to ask you, what does all that mean?
It's essentially our platform. You know, it's how we break it down, and that's our services that we offer to our members. You know, starting out with that community, built around kind of the peer group model, but it goes farther than that. Work sharing, and then eventually cooperative benefits and cooperative purchasing, and would love to have an annual event someday for people to really come and experience ProFab in its fullest. And then the consulting piece, there's also 3 main offerings of that. So it starts off with the strategic planning and coaching. We have the one-on-one fractional leadership and support, all built upon the final one, which is our management systems and toolkits. The final pillar, that third pillar, is our franchising. It's our newest offering, something that you're able to take everything and bundle it up into one. So you're basically getting everything. That's going to be powered by Nix Industrial. Excited for the opportunity for, new franchisees to come on board.
What are some things that you guys have done? Like you said, you may have saw like the writing on the wall a little bit, probably at the end of last year. Another gentleman, one of the people we had on the podcast, Preston Hadley, he mentioned the same thing in a meeting recently, that like he saw that coming too, and that they tightened up a little bit. They didn't, just like Nix, and he's a smaller company. From my understanding, he didn't let anybody offer anything. He just tightened up what they were doing, right? Yeah. What are some things that Nix is doing, or you don't have to be real specific, but it's something that maybe can help our listeners. And also, this is kind of a two-part question, and you may answer this part first because it's a simple question, is it kind of similar to what you guys did when you tightened down for COVID? I remember like COVID tightening down, but it's differently. Like you had to tighten down lots of different things for COVID versus now is like almost like you saw it coming kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit different in that our biggest impact during COVID, I mean, there was the initial sort of lockdown where, things were temporarily slow, but after that, we had plenty of work. What really impacted us, and that was more so into 2021, was the material price inflation, the unprecedented inflation, where materials literally doubled in a matter of a couple months.
Yeah, I didn't get to build my pole barn because I was dumb and didn't build it at the time.
Yeah, a lot of people got stuck in that. And so we had projects out, that were under contract that we were upside down on. So that's a little bit different thing to work through. So cost control got to be a really big focus. And I mean, cost control's always got to be a focus. But right now, our issue is more so, we need more revenue, to keep up with the pace of where we were. And so, that's really our focus. We certainly have our eye on cost control, but we're really focusing on revenue generation and how can everyone be engaged. So take support staff, for example. Instead of looking at support staff and saying, hey, can we afford to keep this person? We're saying, hey, how can we engage this person in revenue generating activities? Or can they take something off someone else's plate so that person can be engaged in revenue generating activities? So for example, say we have someone in inside sales that's doing some reporting, weekly, monthly reporting, and in our CRM system, and just doing some minutia type work, then okay, is there an admin that could take that off their plate so that they can get almost 100% engaged in actively participating in business development? So things like that. That's where we're really focused, and frankly where I'm putting my time too. So we're trying to divide and conquer. I'm focusing on the really big strategic relationships. One of the things I did last Friday is roll with a sales rep and went to a large account that was a troubled account that we frankly screwed something up last year. And, shame on me for taking almost a year to get over there, but went over to the customer and just let them tell me the story about their experience and shared with me where we made the mistakes and said, I'd just like to learn how we can improve and get better. And he had written us off. And by the time I left the meeting, he had agreed to let us quote the next project. So
that's what I was going to ask. Like, do you feel like that works? I mean, I think it doesn't matter how long you've been in a leadership role or a business. Obviously, the more experience you have, the more that like just talking it out, like getting over to the client or hopping on a phone call is like.
This client was 2.5 hours from the office, and significant client potential. So yeah, for me to get in front of him in person meant a lot to him.
Yeah.
And I was very thankful he gave me the time. Yeah, I sent him an email and said, hey, I heard you had a bad experience. I'm just checking out some things. I'm going to be in your area next Friday. I would love the opportunity to just sit down for a few minutes and hear from you. And that was all I did. Just let him tell me about his experience.
I'd say at a smaller level, that's what we're doing right now at Captivate Content a little bit. We're going to some of our clients that we only had we haven't been in business long enough to really screw too many people up, as in like they said, oh, this project failed or whatever. But me being kind of passive and selling, as in I'm not going to be real pushy. Like if you don't get back to me on a proposal, I may follow up in 6 months or so, but like I'm not going to be real pushy because I know that you guys, you have to spend money or whatever. And you may not be wanting to. Working with, ProFab Alliance, we've been kind of doing a little bit of strategic planning. And one of the things is actually, it's, one of the Nix sales guys are going to come and coach me a little bit on how to follow up with clients and be a more service to the clients. And I think that should help us a little bit.
Yeah, it's really important. You mentioned being pushy. I mean, you can follow up and be persistent without being pushy. And I'll give a really good example of someone that's been selling to me. And that's why I think it's a good example, because it's like I can look at it through the lens of the customer. And this person knows that we're planning on building a new office soon. And so they jumped right in. I put a post on social media about our new office plans, and he came right in with the sales pitch. And at first I was a little bit turned off by it, but he had done a really nice job and had done his homework and the way he crafted his message. And so I thought, all right, well, I'll give him a time of day. And he followed up with me a couple of times since then, all very tactfully. And I let him know, hey, I'm not ready to discuss that yet. When we are, I will. And this last time he had reached out to me, lo and behold, I actually already emailed him back and said, hey, I do want to talk to you, but I'm not quite ready yet. I had told him that I would be by now, and my plans aren't where I thought they would be. And so I got done responding to the email and went about my business. Within 10, 15 minutes later, we're looking at a modular podcast booth, as you know, we've been talking about for when we go to trade shows to record podcasts in the trade shows. And I thought he was top of mind. I thought, I bet he has access to that stuff. They sell like modular office equipment and stuff, office furniture. And so I went online and found kind of an example of what I wanted and emailed it to him. And I said, do you guys sell this stuff? And within 10 minutes, he had 3 quotes to me. And so my point is, had he not been top of mind, I would have never even thought to ask him, and I don't know whether we'll end up buying that from him or not, but he at least has a seat at the table now.
Yeah.
So that's just a good example of why I think we have to follow up. If we do it tactfully and we're adding value to the customer, then they won't be upset and you'll be top of mind, so that when that project comes up, or if the project goes a different direction, we see that happen a lot. Projects go a different direction and then we don't even end up having a seat at the table. Oh, well, we didn't think that you did that. Or, oh, well, we ended up doing this or that. It's like, man, wish you would have just talked to us. We could have helped you, through that. Or with either of that would have been ideas or re-quoting the project.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty a transparent salesperson, I guess you would say, or awkward. I don't know what's the better way to say that, but what's been working for me really is I'm like, I'll follow up with someone and I'll just say, and this is very honest, is I say, I've been working on following up on project quotes and things like that. So obviously I'm sending you an email to say, hey, how's this going? Or is this something you're still interested in? Or has something else come up or something like that? And I've gotten actually really positive feedback from just being honest and saying like, hey, I'm working on following up. Like I actually get a lot of the clients will be like, thanks for following up. Like actually we kind of forgot about that you even sent that proposal over or something.
I think it's just you're disarming them and kind of being a little bit vulnerable.
All right. Where else we want to go with this conversation? So obviously, you talked about you guys are in a tough spot and that you guys are putting a lot of effort towards business development. We just kind of talked a little bit about following up. What are some things that you guys lean on that are tried and true methods that you're like, this will probably work from a business development, especially that our listeners, the one thing I know about Nix is that you guys are very relationship based with your customers. I know, you guys have tinkered with like products and e-commerce and things like that. But when it comes down to it, your guys' best business development is still it's just the old fashioned. Let's go out to lunch. Let's go, or let's do a lunch and learn and all these things. Are there anything that our listeners could take some knowledge nuggets from?
Yeah, well, there's a few different directions we could go with that. So, talking about tried and true things, I'll hit. I think maybe kind of like opposite ends of the spectrum. One, we're a data-driven organization, as you know, and we invested in a CRM system several years ago, which I don't know how we'd operate without it. We run Pipedrive. Really love Pipedrive. Pipedrive, if you're listening, maybe you'd be a good sponsor for our podcast.
Well, I will say, I know talking with Adam Schmidt, he'll talk a lot about Pipedrive and how like Pipedrive will work with Nix a lot on certain aspects. That's like, hey, can it do this? And they'll say, well, let's try this.
Yeah, we've customized a lot of things. Yeah. And we've talked about Profab Alliance potentially working with Pipedrive to put out kind of a white label product for
I've even thought about getting in. We don't use Pipedrive for our CRM, but pretty much just because we were looking more for a project management, which they do have project management too. But we went project management that we added a CRM onto it. It works okay.
You use Monday.com.
Yeah. I mean, they got me with their ads. I really like their ads.
Yeah.
And we're running pretty well on that. But I will say, any listeners here that like just want to try like something free for like a CRM, like very customizable type of thing, I would definitely look at Airtable. Or I don't know if you've heard of Airtable, but Airtable is basically a database. It looks like an Excel, like a colorful Excel sheet, but it has templates that are specifically for CRMs, and that's literally how I built my Monday one. Which I built the Monday one, and then Monday came out with their sales CRM platform, so we upgraded to that, and it literally is built just like what I had on a template. So definitely recommend that. I do recommend Monday if you have project management and CRM stuff together, but I'm still learning all that. That's all stuff that I get really excited about when I get in there and look through. I love looking through like sales, like the pipeline of a sales is really fun. But then also like to be able to project what you're going to be possibly making that year and stuff like that.
That's where I was invaluable. Where I was going with that, with the data. In our CRM is, getting really diligent about being able to forecast what we've got coming. And so, you asked about tried and true methods. We're looking at the data and looking at what the highest probability is. And, when things are a little slow, what we're going to do is we're going to focus a lot more of our business development efforts closer to the close, further down the funnel to try to push stuff out the bottom of the funnel. When we're really busy, we're going to work up to the top of the funnel. It's like salespeople say, oh, well, I can't sell right now. Our lead times are too long, yada, yada, yada. Well, you should be planting seeds for the future. Go build new relationships, start at the top of the funnel. And so we sort of move up and down the funnel based on, what our needs are. And we've got the data to be able to see that and work on those things. And so that's one end of the spectrum. Then the other end of the spectrum, like you said, just, the old fashioned relationship selling. And, if you've really invested in building long-term relationships, you can lean on those customers when you're a little bit slow. And I exaggerated to make a point to our sales team, but this is what I told them. A couple of our really good accounts that, we have people at almost daily. I said, you go to them and you tell them we're slow and we don't want to lay anybody off and we'll clean the damn toilets if you want us to. I said, go tell them that. And you get the point across, right? And they were, this is like a big power plant or oil refinery or a large automotive factory, massive operations. And they lean on us a lot. We get them out of jams and they'll find stuff for us to do during those times. And so we've been successful at that.
One of the things you said before you hit on that was your sales team saying like, I can't sell anything. And I just had a question on how do you get your sales teams to buy into planting like the earlier seeds, like to work every part of the funnel? I know a good salesman probably understands that already, but sometimes, people that are really probably competitive and really want to sell and they don't have the capacity to do it. I mean, is there anything you guys do to kind of help your sales team along, or do you just got to make sure you get the right people that understand the big picture?
I don't have a great answer for that. Yeah, I think getting the right people is the best thing you can do. But yeah, I mean, we have visual aids to show them, and we've been doing it long enough now that we kind of know what those ideal numbers should look like. You need to be making this many visits, getting this many meetings. That's going to produce this many RFQs. That many RFQs are going to produce this many jobs. We know what the average job size comes out to. So it's a pretty mathematical funnel that we've been able to develop along the way, and it holds pretty tried and true. And so, the numbers don't lie. And then having that data has been huge. One of the things because we have all that data, one thing we've been able to recognize over the last 9 months or so since our sales have been off is actually the number of jobs we're closing is up a little bit. It's just the size of jobs has crept down. So it's not surprising in a somewhat recessionary climate that the big jobs aren't happening as frequently as the small jobs, and that's somewhat out of our control. So I said, well, all we can do is now we have to adjust our numbers a little bit because we had backed into you take your average job size and multiply it times the number of jobs you need to hit the number that you need to hit, right? Well, we're hitting the number of jobs we wanted to close. So that means the sales team's doing what they should be doing. They can't control the size. So I said, well, guys, we're going to have to adjust the number of jobs. We got to sell more. I mean, it's just that simple. We have to go find more jobs. If they're going to be smaller, we got to find more of them. So let's all roll our sleeves up and go find more of them. And that's kind of been our approach right now.
Yeah. Throughout like our podcast, you get pretty excited, I think, about like talking about numbers and stuff like that. Have you always been like that, or was there again, this is kind of off the cuff question, but was there a time where like in your business ownership journey that you were like, oh, I got to figure out what a sales funnel looks like. I got to figure out all this
No, I've
stuff.
always been this
Always
way.
been like that? Yeah.
So yeah, and for the listeners that maybe don't know my story, I grew up on the shop floor. It was me, my dad, my grandpa, and my aunt. We were a tiny welding and machine shop, repaired farm equipment. Small mom and pop shop. That's what I grew up doing. And as I was full time in the business, and I bought half the business from dad at a young age, I would go in on the computer and pull up QuickBooks and look at the P&L throughout the month to see where we were at through the month. I taught myself to read a income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement. We didn't even have a balance sheet and cash flow statement when I started, but or we didn't have a good one. It was like a lot of people would take it to the accountant at the end of the year and they make it. But yeah, I was always just wanted to know the numbers. And then, as we started getting into the sales and the CRM system, just analyzing that data, wanting to know where we're at. I guess, I'm just a analytical numbers person. Yeah, I've always been that way.
Yeah, I would say I'm somewhat the same, especially when I first launched Captivate Content. I was really watching because I was testing different kind of CRMs and stuff, and I was really watching the numbers and stuff. I'm still in the port of my business where I'm very much an operator, right? And so sometimes I get stuck in business mode, doing the business stuff or doing the actual work that I forget. Like, because I used to get really excited when I would look through and be like, oh, this is cool. Like, while we're halfway to our goal and it's February or March or whatever, and I'm like, so all I have to do is this, and this to get to our goals and stuff like that. So it was really simplified version of thinking through that kind of stuff, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But is there anything else you want to talk about that's been on your mind that's like that you think the listeners could learn from?
Yeah, we've talked about some good practical, tactical type things. I think, when you're going through a sales lull, as far as, what you can do and how to leverage data in a CRM, and talk about some relationship things. But I want to take a step back and just talk more personal, philosophical, I guess. And that's that, one thing that I've had to learn along the way is you got to give yourself permission to shift gears a little bit. And I think that's okay. I like I was sharing before this, I'm not in the mood to really podcast right now, and we got to do what we got to do. But one way we could pivot is just be honest about where we're at and make the best of this situation. And hopefully this will be a worthwhile episode that we put out. But I think that's kind of an analogy for the bigger picture, in that sometimes you got to do things that you don't feel like doing, and sometimes you have to. I've been lately been very blessed to be able to be very forward thinking in the business and focus more on the bigger picture, moving our business forward. And right now we're in a season where I got to put that stuff on hold. And I've had to tell some people, and I was worried I was going to disappoint them or let them down, and just said, listen, we've got to put that on hold right now. I've got to re-engage in the core business. I got to get focused around my team. And sometimes it might not even be that I really add that much value to the equation. I hope that I do, but I might not. But just, I think as the president and CEO saying, hey, I'm going to put these other things on pause and focus on this, it sends a real clear signal to everybody that we better do the same thing. Because we all have that. We all have the equivalent of forward-looking things, projects. It could be distractions. And so maybe it's not always I'm going and sitting in front of the customer and actually resolving an issue. Maybe it's just I'm sending the signal to everybody that, hey, we're going to get laser focused right now. And so I guess what I'm saying is I've had to come to realize that maybe that in and of itself could be enough. And because a lot of times you think like, well, man, I'm so out of the loop. What am I going to really do to add value here? And hopefully that's one way that we as leaders can add value, of just giving clear directive and showing everybody that we're focused on this. And, we just we got to do what we got to do. And then we'll come back to those bigger projects. It's okay to put them on hold and put them on the shelf and just be honest about it, because I think otherwise then what we tend to do is try to do both things really half-ass. And so I was talking to a couple other people on our team that have big projects they've been working on. I said, listen, park it right now. It's okay. You don't have to apologize for it. I understand. You got to focus on this. So, but be clear about it, because otherwise then it's ambiguous to everybody. And it's like, are you working on it? Or are you not working on it? We're looking at doing a big ERP implementation here in the coming 6 to 12 months, and we just put that on hold right now. We don't need to be focused on that. We need to be focused on making sure that we've got revenue going back the direction that we need it to go, and then we can come back to that.
Yeah, I think you just saying that you're going to focus on the core business obviously will most likely inspire your individual team members to say, okay, if he's doing that, then we need to do it. But then also you're saying, well, you may not still do as much work as you used to on the core business that moves the needle like you used to, right? But if you do a little bit, and then your other team members are inspired and they're doing a little bit more, then the needle will move.
Yeah, I said that today. We have an army of people now. That's one thing that's been really cool to see. That and make no mistake, I don't want to sit there. It's not like it's dire or anything. I mean, we're very competitive. So if we're not growing year over year, we're very disappointed. Going backwards for us is not acceptable in my mind. And so I just want to set the context for what I'm talking about. But right now, it's looking like we're going to, be off from last year. We're going to go backwards, almost certainly. And so that's why we're like, no, we're buckled down, right? We're focused on that. And man, whenever we do that, we have an army of people that can just turn on a dime and, all right, let's go, and operational folks and engineers and estimators and admins and, executives that are all like, and it's cool to watch everybody work together. And I think, there's a lot of positive that comes out of that too, that you try to harness for the future.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's a pretty good little episode for us to wrap up right there. Obviously, I say this every time, but we really appreciate anybody that's listening, anybody that turns on YouTube and watches the videos. And just continue to listen and engage in this podcast. As you could tell, like one of the things that we're always looking for are guests that bring value to you guys as the listeners. And one of the things that me and Matthew have been talking about for the last month or so is really rolling out like a virtual version of this. We still like doing it in person. We do like, I know that Matthew likes bringing people in and giving them a tour of Nix companies and Nix Industrial and things like that.
Yeah. Love to have people travel here to be on the
exactly.
On the podcast.
We're gonna continue to do it that way as much as possible. But if you know of someone that you're like, man, they need to be on this podcast because they're talking to fabrication companies, they're talking to machinists, and this person is a leader that needs to be on your guys' podcast, feel free to reach out to us. If they can't travel, we'll figure out a way to do it virtually. I mean, we're testing some things out, and I think when it comes down to it, lots of people are doing podcasts virtually. There's nothing wrong with doing a podcast virtually. I just know that for me, conversations seem to be a little bit more organic when you're in person and stuff. That's why we've focused on being in person. But again, if you guys know of some guests, reach out to me, Matthew, anybody, and we'd love to have them on. Yeah.
One thing I realized we forgot today.
Oh, my dad joke.
The dad joke.
Let's see if my note-taking abilities work this time. I don't know if you guys saw on LinkedIn ever about my problem with my notes. All right. Why did the CEO, this is good for you, all right? Why did the CEO make everyone at the manufacturing plant go on a diet?
I don't know.
She wanted a lean facility.
Nice. I should have seen that one coming a mile away. Yeah.
And that's very applicable right now. We need a lean facility.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, Casey, let's close this out. If you're not making sparks,
you're not making money.